Okay, so I want you to just close your eyes for a second and transport yourself back. It's January 1983.
Hmm.
It's the absolute dead of winter. But the temperature outside isn't the only thing that's freezing. We are at the height of the Cold War.
Right.
The United States and the Soviet Union are locked in this terrifying staring contest. Nuclear stockpiles are overflowing, and there's a very real, palpable sense in the air that the world could end at any moment.
It really was a precipitous moment in history. I mean, you have the doomsday clock just ticking louder than it had in decades.
Yeah.
And that ideological battle between communism and the free world, it wasn't just some abstract political theory,
Yeah.
It was playing out in proxy wars and espionage and the rhetoric of world leaders.
It felt real.
It felt like a zero-sum game where only one side was going to make it out alive.
And it is right in the middle of this high-pressure cooker, January 9th, 1983, to be exact, that our source material for today lands. We're looking at a speech given at Belvedere in New York by the Reverend Myung Moon, and the title is True Man, True Church, True Country. Now, you look at that title, and you might expect a standard Sunday sermon.
Sure.
But what we found in this text is something much more radical. This is a diagnosis of a world in crisis.
It absolutely is. And what's fascinating here is that he isn't separating the spiritual from the political at all.
No.
He's connecting the internal state of a person's soul directly to the geopolitical survival of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
He's arguing that democracy is failing, not because of economics or military strategy, but because it lacks a center.
So the mission for this deep dive is to really unpack that diagnosis. We're going to look at his theory of the zigzag, which is a wild concept.
Yeah.
His terrifyingly simple geometry of good and evil, and a prescription for survival that involves true love, strict discipline, and even a prophecy about the future of education.
It's a dense text,
Yep.
but the core argument is, well, it's brutally logical. He's essentially saying that in a race between a rigid straight line and a flexible wavy line, the straight line will always win. And for a democratic society that values flexibility, that is a very scary thought.
So let's start where he starts. Before he gets into the politics or the theology, he starts with geometry.
He does.
He literally lays out a coordinate system for morality.
It's his way of making the abstract concrete. He asks the audience to visualize directions in space.
Uh-huh.
So right and up symbolize heaven and goodness,
Okay.
and left and down symbolize evil and hell.
Oh.
It sounds simple, almost childish, but he's building a framework.
Right, but then he adds motion to it. And this is where it kind of clicked for me. He says you can't just drift from the left to the right or from down to up.
Wrong.
You can't just slide over when you feel like it.
No, because the intersection.
Yeah.
He argues that to move from the realm of evil, which he defines as living for yourself, to the realm of good living for God or a public purpose, you have to cross a center point.
And crossing that point is violent.
It's a collision. He calls it a point of self-denial.
Self-denial.
Exactly. I mean, think of it like a rocket trying to leave the atmosphere. You don't just float into space.
No, you have to fight for it.
You have to burn a massive amount of fuel to break escape velocity. He says to go from low to high, you have to pass through a complete reversal of your way of life. It requires denying your past self entirely.
So it's not a casual pivot.
Not at all. It's a death and rebirth.
And once you cross that center, you establish what he calls the vertical line. I found this image really striking. He says 2 points make a line. I, the individual, and God.
And that is the crucial standard. If those 2 points, you and God, align perfectly, you create a vertical line. And in geometry, a vertical line is the shortest distance, right?
Right, and the strongest structure.
The strongest. It doesn't lean left, it doesn't lean right, it doesn't wobble, it is absolute.
And this concept of the fixed vertical line is the weapon he then uses to attack American culture. Which brings us to the core critique of the speech, and honestly, it's the part that I'm still chewing on. The zigzag theory.
Ah, the zigzag. This is really the key analytical insight of the whole thing. He looks at American democracy, and where we usually see freedom or adaptability, he sees instability,
He's a flaw.
a structural flaw. He argues democracy zigzags.
And that's because of what? Elections?
It's because of elections, exactly. I mean, think about it. Every 4 years or 8 years, the administration changes.
Mm-hmm.
One party takes power and pulls the country left. The next party takes power and pulls it right. Public opinion shifts with the news cycle. Policy just fluctuates constantly.
So to him, it looks like chaos.
To the speaker, looking at this from a God's eye view, the United States looks like a drunk person stumbling down the street. There's a lot of movement, sure, But is there actual progress?
He has this quote, "The direction of the majority keeps changing. Because they don't know better, people assume that this is natural." He's saying we've tricked ourselves into thinking this chaos is a good thing.
We call it self-correction. He calls it waste. And this is where the Cold War context becomes so critical. He contrasts the American zigzag with the communist straight line.
And this is the part that really stopped me. Because he clearly hates communism. He calls it godless evil, says it's guaranteed to perish.
Oh, absolutely.
But he admits they're doing one thing right.
They're consistent. He argues that the communist world has this single, unified goal, global domination.
Right.
And they move toward it in a straight line. They don't care about polls. They don't care about majority opinion. They don't have to worry about a midterm election changing their foreign policy. They just march.
It's the tortoise and the hare, isn't it?
It is.
Except the tortoise is a tank, and the hare is having an identity crisis.
And the hare is running in circles. His logic is just mathematically ruthless. A system that zigzags, even if it has more money or better weapons, will eventually be overtaken by a system that moves in a straight line.
It's just physics.
Distance equals rate times time. If your direction is constant, you cover more ground.
He's incredibly fatalistic about it. He says, if the free world continues its present course, it is guaranteed to perish. Guaranteed.
He sees the free world as vague. We don't know what we want. We want privacy, comfort. We want to be left alone.
Right.
Communism wants the world. In a conflict between vague and laser-focused wins every time.
And to explain why this happens, he uses this biological analogy about the eye.
Yes. He asks, what is the center of the body? In America, we prioritize the individual, the eye. But he says, imagine if your eye decided it was the center of the universe.
Uh-huh.
If the eye wants to look right, but the legs want to walk left, and the hands want to do something else.
You don't have a body, you have a seizure.
Precisely. He argues that the eye must serve the whole body. The individual must serve the public purpose. If the parts don't submit to the center, the organism dies.
Which is a very collectivist view of survival.
It is, which is ironic given he's defending the free world, but he thinks the free world is exercising its freedom in a suicidal way.
So, if America is this uncoordinated body, zigzagging its way off a cliff, what's the cure? Because he doesn't just offer a critique, he offers himself as the solution.
Right, and he uses a medical metaphor. He compares America to a patient with almost incurable cancer.
Wow. That is a bleak diagnosis.
It is, but here's the kicker. The patient doesn't know they are sick. And worse, they don't want to be treated.
Okay.
So he asks, does the patient have the right to agree or not?
And his answer is a resounding no.
Right. If a doctor sees a patient dying and the patient is delirious and fighting back, the doctor straps him down and operates anyway. That's how he views his movement's role in America. They are the unwanted surgeons.
Or firefighters.
Or, as he puts it elsewhere, firefighters breaking into a burning house while the owners are sleeping and screaming at them for breaking the door down.
That implies a massive amount of authority. It basically says, I know better than you what you need to survive.
It's absolute authority. And he anticipates the pushback. He knows people criticize him. He knows the media attacks him. But he uses this image of the village dog.
A barking dog. I loved this image.
It's so vivid. A stranger walks into a village. One dog starts barking. And all the other dogs start barking because the first one did. They make a huge racket. But the stranger keeps walking. Eventually, the dogs realize the stranger is gone, and they're just barking at the blue sky.
He's dismissing his critics as just noise.
He's saying they're reacting to a disturbance without understanding the reality. They're barking. He is working. It's a way to inoculate his followers against bad press.
Right. Oh, that's just the dogs barking. Ignore them.
Exactly.
Now, he does get into specific politics here. He mentions Ronald Reagan. And remember, this is 1983. Reagan is ramping up military spending, pushing this hard line against the Soviets.
And the speaker praises Reagan, but it's conditional praise. He likes that Reagan is making the Soviets unhappy.
That's his litmus test. If the Soviets are happy, America is losing.
Exactly. If the Soviets are unhappy, America is doing something right. But he worries about the zigzag. He worries that public opinion will force Reagan to soften his stance.
So he asks.
Should President Reagan do something that makes the Soviets happy, even if that is what public opinion supports?
And the answer is clearly no.
The vertical line of defense must be held, regardless of popularity. It's a call for a conviction politician who ignores the polls and does what is necessary for survival.
Okay, so we've got the geopolitical fix. Stop zigzagging, build a strong defense, ignore the critics. But this speech is titled True Man, True Church, True Country. It starts with the man, the individual.
Hmm.
And this is where he turns the lens on his own followers.
This is a really fascinating glimpse into the internal culture of his movement. He draws this sharp, almost painful contrast between his Japanese followers and his American follower.
And it is not flattering for the Americans.
Not at all. He basically asks who is working harder. He points out that the Japanese members are working 7 days a week, sleeping minimal hours, sacrificing everything for the cause.
And the Americans, they want weekends off. They want to sleep.
They want privacy. He even brings up their physical appearance. He notices the Japanese members have thin waists because they're laboring like ants.
Wow.
But he critiques the American women for having thin waists for fashion.
It's vanity versus utility?
Exactly. He's attacking the American work ethic. He sees it as soft. He asks the audience if they are sheep or goats.
Now, usually being called a sheep is an insult. Wake up, sheeple.
Right, but in this biblical context and in his specific theology, the sheep are the saved ones. But he defines a true sheep by its obedience. A sheep gets sheared, it gives up its wool, its warmth, without protesting. It just stands still.
It submits. And a goat kicks.
A goat is rebellious. A goat has its own ideas. Yeah. He's challenging American individualism directly. He says, American sisters, when they are told to do something, they will do it only if they feel like it.
And he frames that feeling like it as a fundamental weakness.
Goes right back to the zigzag. Feelings fluctuate. Feelings zigzag. If you only work when you feel like it, you're not a reliable soldier in the war against communism.
You need to be a sheep.
Dutiful, constant, unchanging.
Speaking of discipline and looking ahead, there's this weirdly prophetic moment in the text. He talks about the video age.
This really stood out to me. Remember, in 1983, home video is in its infancy. But he predicts that the university system is essentially going to become obsolete.
He asks, why would a university be necessary?
He envisions an encyclopedia of God-centered knowledge on video. The idea is you can record the absolute best expert on a topic once, and then millions can learn from that recording.
You don't need a mediocre professor in every classroom.
Right. He basically predicted online learning. Coursera, Masterclass, YouTube.
He did.
But his motivation wasn't just efficiency. It was about bypassing the liberal or secular university system. If you control the video content, you ensure the vertical line of truth is maintained. You don't have professors zigzagging the curriculum.
It's the democratization of information, but for the purpose of ideological purity.
Well put.
So we have the discipline, the politics, the education, but what is at the center of this vertical line? He uses the phrase true love.
And we have to be very careful here. When we hear true love, we think of romance, butterflies.
Right. Tu woo, the Princess Bride.
In this text, true love is a technical term. It has one defining characteristic: unchangeability.
Unchangeability.
He argues that God is absolute, unique, eternal, and unchanging. Therefore, God's love is unchanging. If your love changes, if it zigzags, it is not true love. It is satanic, because Satan is the master of fluctuation.
This leads him to a very hard line on marriage.
The hardest. He says the word divorce should be erased from the dictionary. If you even mentally entertain the possibility that a marriage could end, you have already failed the test of true love.
You're supposed to be shocked by the idea.
Shocked and faint at the mere thought of it.
He gets personal here, too. He talks about his own life. He mentions he's surrounded by pretty women who follow him.
He brings that up to establish his own authority and discipline. He's saying, look, I have the opportunity to zigzag. I have temptation. But he views these women strictly as nieces or daughters.
He maintains the one husband, one wife standard. Absolutely.
He's asserting that he is the embodiment of the vertical line. He's not asking them to do what he won't do.
Right.
He views life as a series of tests. God's love was tested by humanity's betrayal, yet God didn't change. So to be a true person, you must be put in intolerable situations, suffering, hard labor, temptation, and remain unchanged. That's the only way to prove your love is true.
Which brings us to the grand finale of the speech, the soccer game.
It's a great high-energy metaphor to close on. He pictures the entire struggle of history as a soccer match.
And the opponent is Satan.
The opponent is Satan, and the ball is the world. The goal isn't just to score points. The goal is to kick the ball into God's heart.
There's this quote, "One more hop and we win in front of Moscow, then we will land smack in the center of God's heart."
He ties it all together right there. Moscow represents the center of communism, the straight line of evil. Defeating that ideology is the prerequisite for landing in God's heart.
You can't separate them.
You can't have the spiritual victory without the geopolitical victory. And he tells the listeners, don't sit on the sidelines. He says the bench warmers are the saddest people.
The game is happening now.
The clock is ticking. If you are zigzagging, you aren't even on the field.
So let's zoom out. The title is True Man, True Church, True Country. The source text really lays out a progression here.
It does. It's a roadmap. Step 1, true man. You stop zigzagging personally. You become disciplined, unchanging, sheep-like in your devotion. You establish that vertical line.
And once you have those individuals...
Step 2, true church. You gather those individuals into a unified body that moves with the focus of a straight line.
And finally...
true country. That body influences the nation to stop fluctuating, stand up to communism, and to save the world. It's a bottom-up revolution, but it demands total conformity to the center.
He also briefly mentions a movie in Sean.
Right, he funded this massive movie about the Korean War and General MacArthur. Critics hated it. It bombed at the box office.
Yeah, I remember that.
But he brings it up as proof of his commitment. He's saying, I used the media to fight communism. The critics barked, but I did it to inspire hope. It's another example of him trying to force the culture to straighten out its line using whatever tool he has, even Hollywood.
It's fascinating how he weaves pop culture, Cold War anxiety, and this deep theology into one singular worldview. It really doesn't allow for any compartments.
No.
You are either all in or you are part of the problem.
That's the definition of a totalist ideology. There is no neutral ground. You are either on the vertical line or you are drifting into the abyss.
So here is the thought I'm left with, and I want to throw this out to you listening. We live in a world that worships agility. We talk about pivoting in business. We talk about evolving our views. We see flexibility as a kind of intelligence.
We call it adaptation. Survival of the fittest usually means survival of the most adaptable.
Exactly. But this source makes a compelling counter-argument. He suggests that when the stakes are existential, when you are facing a threat that is absolutely committed to your destruction agility, it might actually be a weakness.
That if you keep pivoting, you lose your momentum.
Yeah. It raises a question, is there a cost to our open-mindedness? When we are open to everything, do we stand for nothing?
And the darker question, if we decide we need a straight line to survive, who draws the line? Because if the compass is off by even 1 degree and you march in a straight line for 1,000 miles, you don't end up in heaven.
You end up somewhere very, very different.
That is the ultimate problem of authority. Who holds the map?
A huge thank you to everyone for tuning in to this deep dive. It's heavy stuff, but sometimes looking back at these high-pressure moments helps us understand the fault lines of today.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that ideas have geometry.
We will see you on the next deep dive. Keep those lines vertical.